relationships, trauma, philosophy, relationships, trauma, philosophy.
Welcome to episode 40 of the Yella Habibi podcast.
Welcome.
Well, that was a strange welcome.
Hello and welcome to our latest episode.
Yeah, it did sound quite spiritual. And, well, that makes a lot of sense because I think Shelby's a psychic Sally because she's just, I don't know how she's figured this out, but
You are taking the piss.
I'm not taking the piss. Shelby just came up to, so I booked a flight today. I'm going to Romania on Sunday. And Shelby says, "Oh, you're just taking a personal bag." And I was like, "Yeah."
Hand luggage. I said hand luggage only.
Hand luggage only. I went, "Yeah, how do you know that?"
For context, we've travelled all over the world together for a couple of years now. And not once have you taken anything but hand luggage.
Well, yeah, for the first leg, we took 90 kilograms of...
Well, yeah, but that was my big suitcase. But you've never elected to take a
Historically,
big suitcase.
I do try to walk on the plane with everything.
Yeah, like any
Because I prefer that.
any workplace, any work event you've been to, you've taken hand luggage. Like, I suppose really what I was getting at is, because it doesn't really make a difference whether you've paid to put it through or not, it's for the taxi. So we're trying to sort a taxi right now on Sunday to the airport. Who's just replied saying he can't do it, so that's...
Oh, fucking brilliant. Live on the podcast, I've no time. If anyone could drive me...
Why did he bother asking me?
Oh, well, anyway. So he's just asked a bunch of questions, even though he knows the time that he needs to take, because now he said, sorry, I can't do that time. Brilliant. What a strange
A lot of
one.
weird... Okay.
But there we go. But yes, I am just taking my hand luggage. It's weird. It's given me hand luggage on the way there, but not on the way back. So that, as in additional, as well as a personal item. So anyway, I digress. We are working on our intro. As you'll see, the intro is slightly different. We now don't have, Yellow BB at the end. We have the...
Like a crash symbol.
Is that what it's called? Crash symbol?
Yeah, crash symbol. Goes...
Would not have thought it was called that. Crash symbol. There is a temporary. We've actually come up today with an idea of an intro, so expect that in the next few weeks. But we do have a new outro.
We do have a new outro, and you'll just have to sit tight and wait for it.
You'll just have to sit tight and wait for it. So we are moving forward with the new podcast brand, which is positive.
And I really like that we are evolving in front of our dear listener.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
They're growing with us.
That is true. Yeah, and I think that's an important lesson for businesses because, I mean, everyone's obsessed, with perfection, and before they want to go to market, they're obsessed with, getting all their ducks in a row. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, if you do that, someone else beats you to it. And when you get there, when you do eventually launch, your customers are quickly going to say, yeah, keep that, but take these 3 things out. And they go, oh, shit, I've just built an entire team around this. So I've just built an entire, development around this. And my customers now say they don't want it. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of wasted money. So it's much better to be scrappier. Yeah. Be more scrappy in business, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's more personable, isn't it? People connect more with, like, if you've got this perfect polished thing, I feel like it's a little bit inaccessible. I like it when things go wrong. I love watching bloopers reels because it shows you, like, these people are human, or, like, I love hearing, like, directors behind the scenes stories of, do you know that day? Like, that scene that, took 10 seconds on your screen, it took us, like, 3 weeks to film it or whatever. Yeah. Like, I love to know
like
those
the
things.
Shining scene.
Oh, tell me.
Well, the woman in the Shining scene...
The Shining Scene.
The Shining Scene.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, exactly. Sean Connery, who beats his wife.
It's not... Oh, God, it does, doesn't it?
It was a random interview where, look it up on YouTube, Sean Connery, about about women, and
wild. It's awful.
Just openly says that women deserve to get punched in the face if they talk back.
Yeah.
And the interviewer's like, "Do you realise what you're saying right now?" He's like, "Yeah, I believe it." I'm like, "Okay." Like, geez. So anyway, The Shining, the actor, she was just useless apparently.
Talking of reasons, just laugh a woman.
I do not condone that. But no, it was specifically the scene where she was swinging the bat.
Yeah.
She had to swing the bat at him. And if you see it, it's like a really just pathetic way of swinging a bat. Apparently they reshot that scene like 150 times. She just wasn't swinging it right and nearly catching him. And apparently it was just a nightmare. Wow. So that was an example.
Well, and apparently Tobey Maguire in the original Spider-Man film, I don't know if there was ones before that, but like the OG Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Classics.
And when Kirsten Dunst like slips and she like throws all the lunch in the air. He catches her and the tray and all the food.
Yeah.
Apparently that's real, and he did it in like
no.
Apparently they tried it 140 odd times, and he did it. I really hope that's true, and I've not.
I can't see that being true. I'm gonna have to check out that video after this, because I can't quite remember how it went down, but that's awesome if that's true.
Yeah, innit?
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Tobey Maguire as the OG. But actually, no, I'm gonna go on record and say I think the new Spider-Mans are even better.
I've not really watched. I don't know if I've seen.
But I love Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, I think he's great. He's vegan, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. I don't remember whether it was a jacket or the car. There was leather in something, and he was like, "I'm not using it."
Oh right, is that Is that vegan? Yeah.
Is that vegan?
Well, yeah, it's different levels,
different
to
degrees
it,
of
isn't there?
vegans.
Different degrees, yeah.
It's a spectrum.
It's a spectrum, like everything in life. We all have a bit of something, don't we?
We do.
Yeah. Geez.
Some people have got a little bit of vegan. Some people have got a lot of vegan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But we're gonna. The topic today is gonna be. I feel like we've started rather lighthearted, and it's gonna be quite dark. It's gonna be quite dark. And then what's quite hilarious is we're also introducing 2 new segments in this episode. Again, it'll evolve through the podcast. Maybe we won't have them in 5 episodes time, but we want to try make these podcasts a bit more professional and have some fun. So we thought we'd introduce them. But anyway, let's go for the deep topic. Drum roll. I'm sure the audios love that drum roll. So it is my pre-coping mechanism. Do you want to ask?
What's the pre-coping mechanism?
Well, I'll tell you. So this is a pre-coping mechanism that maybe exists. I don't know. I've never read about it. So sorry if this already exists. But this is something I personally just developed throughout my life. No one's ever told me about it. It's just something that I've just started and then realised in the last few years that I do it. And they go, oh, wait, this is probably quite powerful. I mentioned it to you and you're like, oh, that's actually pretty impressive. Like, that's powerful. I was like, oh, I didn't realise. So what it is when, there's people in your life that you love, like your mum, your dad, your partner, your sisters, your brothers, etc. The sad realisation is they're all going to die at some point. Brian Johnson might say differently, but, right at this moment in time, they're going to die. And that sucks. So, but I'm very logical, and I approach everything in life with logic, even when people may not agree with my logic. So I just looked at death the same way. So what I did this first for my granddad, and it really helped. When I knew it was like 7 years before he died. It was just, he was in and out of hospital non-stop. Yeah, and it was just like, we were getting to a point where it's like, oh, we were just expecting a call. We were just like any minute, but he actually survived for like another 6-7 years. You know, he was a super active, healthy man. But throughout the process, it just really allowed me to just come to terms with him dying, because I just expected it every year, and it encouraged me to think about it a lot more and really consider his death, how that would make me feel, and I just did that unconsciously. And then he died, and it was obviously horrible, but I must say the impact on me wasn't as traumatizing as when my nan died, because my nan was at a very unexpected death. It was unexpected. Sadly, she got taken by cancer quite aggressively. We identified cancer in less than a year after she was dead. So that was really intense, and it messed me right up. But my granddad, whilst of course it was gut-wrenching, it was horrible, I love my granddad to pieces, but it was less of a blow, and that feels quite horrible to say, but it was more manageable. So then I thought about it, and I thought, well, maybe I can do this with other people. So I've gone and taken it a step further, and if my mum listens to this episode, and I've actually started considering other people in my life dying, and specifically my mum. So I'm very close to my mum, and she's not, by the way, she's not ill. She's nowhere close to death. She's nowhere close to death. Whereas my granddad was, he was ill. He was getting close to death. But I just thought, why don't I start it earlier? Because, life is not easy as it is. And I think, you're always going to get hit with tough things. And I think a death of a loved one is the hardest. I don't believe there's anything that could get harder than that. And naturally, when something hard happens in life, more bad comes with it. What are my habits that I fall into when bad things happen in life? And, everyone has bad habits that they fall into, maybe, not socializing as much, maybe not working as much, not working out, and getting into more serious things like drugs, alcohol, etc. It can be quite dangerous, and you can lose jobs, you can lose relationships, friendships, you can lose yourself. And that, I don't want my life to get railroaded by that. And I know that my loved ones around me wouldn't want that too. They'd want me to carry on happy. So that's what I've started doing, is I've started now openly, not all the time because it's quite intense, but just random moments when I feel it, I think about my mum dying, and I consider it, and I think about how it's going to make me feel, and it's really freaky. Like, I get to a point, I've done it a couple times now. I'll just be open. I was, the last one, I smoked marijuana. I personally find it's very helpful, and
there's many places in the world where that's legal.
There is, and I just found it to be a helpful tool to actually for reflection, just generally. So I personally find marijuana very good for relaxation. I find it very good for reflection. But it also allows you to really evoke some strong emotions, especially for people who are not that in tune with them. So myself, and I think, I speak for a lot of men out there, that we're not that in tune to our emotional side. Yes, we have those feelings. There's no question. We have those feelings. We get upset, we get angry, and etc. But we don't want to cry in front of people. We don't really want to be sad in front of people. We hide that away. That's just how society has built us. So I find that smoking marijuana helps evoke it more for me. But I'm not saying that you have to do that for this precognitive mechanism. You absolutely don't need to do that. I'm just saying my last experience where I really evoked this feeling of, my mum being dead was I was high, and what I did is I planned it. I got a bit high, and I made her bed because she was away, and I made her bed, and it was just a very connecting thing. I was in her room, all her stuff, it smelled like her, and I was making her bed, and I just totally broke down. Totally broke down, and really just thought about it at the deepest level. Like what I was trying to do is to convince myself that she had died, which is, again, maybe this is where Shelby comes in with a disclaimer.
Yes, we are not professionals.
We are not. I just want to make it clear. I should have probably made that clear at the start. We're not professionals, and this is our own experiences, so I just want to make it very clear. This is just something that I've found has been helpful in my experience, but we are not professionals. So just be very careful. Consult professionals.
Just on that, I
Yeah.
feel like it's almost like exposure therapy, isn't it? Again, we're not professionals, but in exposure therapy, if you have a fear of something, you expose yourself to it.
That's probably it. That's what I'm saying. When I, realized I did this, I never read about it, but I guess you'd say, yeah, that's exposure therapy. So I guess that's what I'm doing. And getting back to that, that story was, what I did is I just really felt it, and to the point where it was weird. I was able to think about it so deeply. There was a few seconds where it happened in my head, which was really fucking weird to feel. Really fucking weird. And I wasn't like super high. I just smoked a little bit, I wasn't like, I wasn't on anything else or anything in any way, but I was able to just think about it and really just accept it and go, no, accept that this has happened. She is dead. This is now, you're making a bed. She doesn't exist anymore. And I did it for about 45 minutes to an hour. And there was split few seconds, maybe 5 seconds at most, where it was like, oh my God, she's dead. Like it was, and I was like, that's the furthest I've ever gone with it. I've never been out, which is pretty crazy. Usually I just talk to myself about it. But that I was able to get to a stage where it's like, oh my God, it's real. And then I just fell into the wall and just broke down. And I was imagining telling you it. And I was imagining you speaking back to me, trying to console me. I was like going through scenarios in my head, the steps, cleaning up the house, just things you would have to do. So it was, and then, the floodgates were open. I could have carried on, but I got about 50 minutes into it. I was like, I think I best stop. This is a lot. Like I'd done like nearly an hour of it, and I could have carried on, but I was just like, this is pretty intense. That was a lot. So I was like, I started winding it down. I said, okay, let's just calm it down a bit here. And again, I've done a lot of therapy in the past, so I have techniques to calm myself down. So again, I've had experience. If you've not done, had therapy in the past, I would, tread lightly. So I was able to calm it down, clean myself up. And, I must say, I felt a real weight off my shoulder that day. I felt, an hour later, I felt refreshed. So I must say that was a pleasant feeling. And whilst I haven't come to terms with my mum dying, and I don't think I ever will, I think it will I will chip away at it. And, when that shit day comes, I feel I'll put myself in a position where it's going to suck. It always will. But because I've made this work, I've done this tough work, it's not going to railroad my life and, the domino effect of railroading the life of people that depend on me. So that's my approach, my logic.
It's interesting. And so at what point, you shared about your experience with your granddad and how that was different to your experience with your grandma. At what point did you become conscious that it was that knowledge and expectation that it was going to happen that made it, like, I'm reluctant to say easier, but, not as difficult, let's say? So I'm asking, when did you realise that this could be like a real coping mechanism just generally for dealing with losing loved ones?
There was probably two moments. The first moment was my granddad. When I finally got the news, I was able to overcome it quicker than deaths in the past. And I was very close to my granddad, and I had a lot more time with him than my nan, obviously. So, it's definitely not because I had any less of a relationship with him. I had a great relationship with him. I loved him. But that was definitely a moment. And, at the funeral, again, it was sad. I was sad. It was, I cried. It was not nice. But where I saw the impact was the recovery weeks after. It wasn't just, I didn't, not socialize or distance myself from people or, start, doing bad habits that I have, like, getting on the drink or something like this. These things didn't happen. So that was the first moment. The second moment was when I shared it with you, and then you were the first person to say to me, "Oh wow, that's actually quite an interesting approach," and that made me sort of think about it and go, "Oh, I might be onto something here." So those were probably the two moments that I would say made me realize it's going to be impactful, and it was.
Absolutely. I've never, just never heard of it before, anyone doing that. And it's like, I guess, you play through these scenarios in your head sometimes anyway, worst case scenarios, what would I do in that situation, but then you kind of like, brush it off like an intrusive thought almost. And I think it's just really powerful to just sit with that feeling and, imagine what would that feel like, really. It's almost like taking on that emotion memory before it happens. Because I think shock is one of like the hardest parts about it, isn't it? Like, that massive like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Like, so I think to just sit with that and think about it could really help.
Yeah, it definitely does. I guess that's why meditation is so helpful, because it encourages you to pause and actually reflect on what's gone on in the day, in the week. And I think it's very rare that we do that unless you do meditate or have specific moments where you take time. I think it's rare that people do it. I think a lot of people, I think everyone says it, but if to reflect on something or to really consider something, you have to really put a lot of attention to it for a focused amount of time. And, just having a meeting about it and then go, okay, decided, let's move forward, isn't enough. Having a counselling session and, getting the best action plan and then not going back to it and not actually actioning it and reflecting on what's gone right, what's gone wrong, blah, 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 isn't effective way of moving forward. So I think a lot of people, if they really break it down, most people don't actually and myself included, do not put the time in to actually really stop for a moment and put really dedicated time to like one thing that's important in their life, that really needs a lot of attention, rather than just a quick 20-minute conversation or something like this. So, and I'm I'm in that group as well with things, and I've tried to improve upon that, but this is something that I've definitely improved upon.
It's like you say, it's just something that we're all going to go through multiple times in our lives, so to have any kind of strategy to help is incredible, because I think you've articulated it perfectly about how this is something that we all experience and we're never prepared for it, so let's get prepared.
That's it. That's the logic. So again, we're not professionals, so we're not, prescribing here, but that is an interesting topic we thought we'd discuss, and something that I honestly do. I've shared some examples. Again, you don't need to, get high. You don't need to do any, I do it whilst I'm out on a run. I think about it as a great time, I find. And then in the more intense moments, I literally dedicate an hour to it, and I, will sit maybe just in my bedroom or something, and I'll just just really think about it. Maybe watch some old family videos to really evoke it, bring it out. You know, music can bring it out. You know, visual things that helps. You know, obviously me being in a room making a bed, these things help. Especially as a man who struggles to bring out that emotion, I find these things will evoke it. So yeah, it's but if you do it, just make sure that you know how to come out of it, because it can be quite dark, quite dark. So yeah, let us know down in the comments your thoughts on this. It'd be good to get your insights. Yeah, I hope it's helpful either way. But would love to hear your experiences and your approaches as well to mourning or pre-mourning death. Let's move on to some more positive things, or should I say some strange things. So two new segments that we're introducing. We're going to test them out. So we're going to kick off with mine first, and that's Scott's WTF of the week. Every week the world gets a little weirder. Let's talk about the strangest thing that went down this week. So I've gone ahead and found, by the way, there's a lot of sites that just report on strange news, which I found quite funny. There's one called Oddity Central.
Love it.
Well, it's great. But anyway, so I'm going to give you something interesting that I thought was rather strange that happened this week. And then we'll chat about it for the next couple of minutes. And then Shelby's got her segment as well. So my one is one that I've actually been aware of a little while, that I was introduced by my brother's friend, but it's sort of made big news now, is this real obsession for sticks.
Sticks?
Sticks. So I mean a stick that you'd find on a trail from a tree, you know, a stick.
Like a twig.
Like a twig. Yeah, well, no, it needs to be a bit more of a stick. It needs
more
to be
substantial.
Substantial. So there's actually a community called the Stick Nation on Facebook, and there's also an Instagram called Official Stick Reviews. They're like the biggest ones I found. Official Stick Reviews has 3 million followers. And it's an online community that celebrates the simple joy of finding and sharing unique sticks around the world. It originates, the Stick Nation originates from 2023, so really recent. And it's a movement that has amassed millions of followers across platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And it was actually initiated by friends, Boone Hogg and Logan Juggler, who initiated just like a playful pastime of reviewing sticks they found during hikes, uploading videos to Instagram. It was quite a light-hearted review, it really quickly captured widespread attention, leading to the creation of like official stick review accounts. So it's just like a comedic thing between their friends, and now it has like 3 million plus followers. It's pretty funny. And they, like, to show you the level of growth this is, they had submissions from over 120 countries, which is unbelievable. And there's sticks of all shapes. They even have language for the sticks. They have terminology.
Interesting.
So members distinguish between modded. So if it's a modded stick, what do you think that means? Without looking at the notes that you're staring at right now.
Modded. Like dressed up like a modern rocker.
No, it means modified by humans.
Okay.
And they have natty sticks. What do you think that means?
Natty
sticks.
I don't know.
Natural sticks.
Oh,
natural found.
Okay.
So that you have to let people know, is it a modded stick or a natty stick? Well, I love that they have terminology. They even have celebrity figures. They have Lin-Manuel Miranda.
No way.
One of Shelby's favourite producers. A producer?
Well, I guess he's a composer, writer, producer. He's all sorts,
producer, everything. And he's joined the trend. So there's even celebrities getting involved. So I just think it's hilarious. And apparently now sort of the ethos is just to encourage people to disconnect from their digital devices and enjoy nature, which I think is a lovely thing. But I really recommend to go on the Instagram Official Stick Reviews, or on the Facebook Stick Nation. It's hilarious, and there's some sexy looking sticks.
Love it. And you've got to say, so I've just seen something in yours. Just scroll it down to a little bit further on there, because that's too funny.
What is this?
That word, those two words there.
Travelogue, yeah. There we
Funny.
go.
Log, sticks.
Travelogue, yes. There are stick quests and travelogue, yeah.
So that's for passing sticks among members. Interesting. Love it. So you pass the stick around and it travels.
Exactly.
And you keep a travel log, because it's a log, because it's a stick.
That's
I
great.
just think that's really funny.
So you see how much it's grown. So what's your thoughts on it?
I think I'm going to join immediately.
Yeah? You're going to send a stick in?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, me too. I'm...
I love
I
that.
find it hilarious. But what do you think it's like when we get to the point of is it just a comedic thing? Do you think it has more of a deeper meaning? Is it just, is it a funny account? Is there deep purpose to it? What's your thoughts?
My initial response is that it's just like a fun, like I'm on like a Facebook group called something like Benches of the World, and people just post pictures of benches. Or there's like dull men's club and dull women's club, and you have to say something dull that's happened in your life, and if you take a picture of it, you've got to put a banana next to it and say what shoe size you are in the post. And I think it's just like, so I just think it's like, so I think that it's not serious in the sense that I think it's kind of a joke about the sticks and whatever else, but I do think it's a way about bringing people together and having some commonality in the, I'm looking at a stick on this side of the world and you're looking at a stick on that side of the world, let's compare notes.
Let's compare sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's No,
I think it's nice.
let's compare our sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's quite... I saw it originally as just comedic, and I thought it was just taking the piss. Like, it was just people would... trends can go like that just for funny. People just like, they're on the... What's the word? They're on the joke. They're in the joke.
Yeah, it's like an inside joke.
Inside joke. But it seems to... Because it's taken off so much now, whilst that joke is still there, I think it now does have that deep meaning. It does encourage people to go out because, if a kid is, just loves it and finds it really hilarious, well then he's got to go outside to find a stick, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he's got to go and find a stick, and if he wants to get on the Instagram account, you have to have a blooming good stick. So he might then go, oh, Mom, Dad, let's go for a walk and blah de blah, that's near us, we know it'll, there'll be a lot of good sticks there. So I think it actually does encourage people to walk out, so I think that's fun. I love it. We'll send one in, hope, fingers crossed it'll get shown on the account. But that was a strange thing that I found in this week's news.
Love it. Well, I'm going to tell some positive news. I feel like that's also positive news. So let's take a break from the chaos, and here's something to make you smile this week.
And your segment is called
Shelby's Good Vibes Only, and she's not very good at introing herself, is she?
It's our first time, and our
is.
intros may change.
They may. But yeah, this is my new segment, and I thought of it myself. Clearly didn't, Scott did, because he's a superstar. But it's Shelby's Good Vibes Only.
Team.
We are a team. But I did find this story myself, and the story is, the astronauts that were in space?
Oh yeah, they got
and the International
back
Space
successfully,
Station.
didn't they?
They did, but...
Oh, sorry if I just spoiled you. Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
If you didn't know, they landed 2 days ago, I think, on Tuesday, in the Atlantic Ocean just off of Florida.
Mm.
But what I'm going to... More to the point, do you know that there wasn't just the two of them up there?
No. Well, no, yeah, it was
There
just
was
two, right?
No, there were four of them, including a Russian, but they never get talked about, do they?
What? This
So
whole
there's
part,
some other guy.
They've only said two.
Yeah, so there's that. He's
Why
called something like Butch and Sonny, I think they're called.
By any chance, were the other two American?
What do you mean?
What's the nationality of everyone?
Of the two that everyone knows about, they're American.
Okay, then the other two are Russian.
No, one of the others is Russian cosmonaut. Don't know how that's different to an astronaut.
Okay.
And then the fourth one, I think, was American, but he wasn't an astronaut. I don't know. See, it's bad, isn't it?
So what? But how can you not be an astronaut if you're in space for 9 months?
Well, you're only supposed to be there for 10 days.
But even once you're in space, I'm sorry. I mean, unless you're going up in a Virgin plane. But once you're on the blooming station, you're doing tests. Come on, give them the certificate of an astronaut. Come on.
Hopefully now we'll get like an honorary doctorate, but not honorary astronaut. But no, so what I was going to tell you was, when they land in, so like it all like disperses and it like burns up and then it lands in the ocean. When they first got there, a couple of dolphins arrived.
Oh.
And shortly after, a whole pod was just like swimming around them and like dancing around them, like, what's going on?
Wow.
So imagine you've been on the International Space Station for 8.5 months longer than you intended to be.
Yeah.
You know, you're only supposed to be there for just over a week.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, between 1 and 2 weeks. And you accidentally ended up being there for 9 months, not knowing when you were going to come back, not knowing if you're going to see your loved ones again, literally wasting away. Like, you've seen them, like, they're skinny. Like, because they've had to ration themselves, and I think being in zero gravity for that long is just not good for you.
Yeah.
So the impact to then return back to Earth, which you'll have dreamt about, you know, you'll have daydreamed about, you'd have, you know, you'd been desperate to do, fantasized about, and then you land and you're greeted by a bunch of dolphins. Like, I can think of no better way to return to Earth than that.
That's a beautiful, beautiful first edition of the Shelby's Good Vibes Only.
Thank you. I feel like it was good vibes only, wasn't it?
That's excellent, and I'm so happy to see that they're down. You know, that's good news.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to face months of recovery, I think, but at least now they're back.
But that, yeah, it's part of the job.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I bet they're buzzing. They got 9 months.
Yeah.
I'm sure initially that, oh crap, but then once they knew they were safe, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was gonna, you know, it's so hard to, you know, get the A-OK to, you know, even go up there for a day.
Yeah.
So now they would have never had that amount of time. I think they would have grabbed it with two hands.
Yeah.
That's what they dream of. It's what they work their entire lives for. So
Lovely.
very positive. That's beautiful, babe. What a wonderful thing to end on as well.
Thank you.
Well, it has been a wonderful episode, hasn't it?
It has.
We've got both our new
Very
segments
deep.
in, a deep conversation, and now what Evan's been waiting for, the outro. Another adventure wrapped up.
But the journey never ends.
Keep your bags packed for the next one, and remember, when in doubt, just say,
Yalla
Yalla
Habibi.
Habibi. See you next time.